It's 7 o'clock. It's Monday. It's Mental Monday, the big friendly conversation about mental health. I'm Jake Symons. For the next half an hour, we're going to have a big friendly conversation about mental health, and there is a lot to talk about today. So I'm just going to allow a couple of minutes, as I always do, to allow people to join. If you're new, first of all, welcome. It's great to be with you, virtually, that is. And this is a big open discussion about mental health, and we try and keep things informal. It's just fun to kind of come and chat and check in with each other, see how we all are, how everything's been going on the previous 2 weeks. We have these every other Monday, which is every 2 weeks, and they're just an opportunity to just talk about mental health, which is something I'm really passionate about doing, and that's why we have these Mental Mondays. A couple of rules in the chat. I mean, it's not really, but nothing too triggering. So, graphic descriptions of suicide, self-harm, and that kind of stuff, just because we want to keep the chat friendly-ish. I can moderate that. So just keep that in mind, that we do want to keep things, well, obviously, you can talk about topics, just try and keep it non-triggering. And yeah, that is it, really. That's just keep things nice, in civil in the chat, and that is about it. I'm throwing that one in. That's slightly a new introduction. I thought I'd actually give this a proper intro, because normally I give it kind of a somewhat of an intro, and it's kind of a bit half-hearted. So proper intro, proper rules. Yeah, so I'm definitely trying to actually get this a bit more kind of structured, which I said I was going to do a couple of weeks ago. So, keeping that in mind then, we're about 2 minutes in right now. Let's talk about what's going to come up today. So, obviously, Lockdown 2, it comes into force on Thursday. So, we're going to be talking about how you're feeling that. Obviously, student life, if schools are back and you're kind of saying sick form right now, or if you're just a parent and you're worried about, like, your young children in school. How there's like different rules in different places. Obviously, Wales are going to be coming out of their lockdown. Scotland have a 5-tier system. We have full lockdown. And how to actually deal with the uncertainty of it all, really. Especially with a lot of other uncertainties too. US presidential election tomorrow. We don't normally talk about politics because that's stressful enough. We don't need to kind of reiterate it all the time. But definitely we'll talk about how to deal with uncertainty, how I deal with it, and how to actually how you are dealing with it as well, and how to also deal without any coping mechanisms. Say your coping mechanism was going out for a pint, or going out to the gym, or doing that kind of stuff that we now can't do. Now we're in a March style lockdown, so how will it end? And how we can actually, what we're going to do with this time, because if you work in, say, non-essential shops that are now closed, are you on furlough, back on furlough for the first time, not on furlough, not able to get any support whatsoever? How are you finding it all, really? So a lot to talk about. So I'm going to kick things off with the usual question, and that is, how are you? It's a question we don't ask each other enough, and I always start every Mental Monday with that question, because it's an important one, and it does get a little boring. And probably if you tell people that you suffer from low mental health, you probably get that question too much. And it's well meant, but I'm sure it can get annoying at times with everyone asking you every 5 minutes, are you okay? I also do this to a couple of people that I know with mental health problems, and I'm trying to actually stop myself doing it. I can kind of see both sides to that. But how are you? Well, I'm pretty good-ish. Still on the balance between getting a job or carrying on with Waterdown, which is my marketing kind of setup, which I've been thrown into at the deep end with. So I'm kind of erring more towards working on Waterdown full time. So that's been keeping me busy, because I've got an entire business to set up, basically. Website, contracts, all sorts of fun and things that I'm not going to bore you with, that I've been setting up for that. So it's definitely taken a lot of my time at the moment. But it just seems more attainable than a second job. Obviously, that's something I keep in the back of my mind, kind of split between searching for both. But yeah, I've been all right. I mean, I feel like the biggest thing is being distracted because I've been working a lot, which, I mean, for someone of us listening, you might think that's really painful and like, how do you cope with that? But I find, having that distraction quite useful, to actually have something to focus on and see the end goal with and know, right, you've got to do these steps to get to this goal. And it's just something to keep me busy, which is nice and always needed when there's really not much else and hardly anything on Thursday. Yeah, that's how I've been anyway. Do let me know how you are. How have you been getting on with everything? But we'll go and talk a bit more about the lockdown. How do I feel about this? It's probably what I'll start with. Um, I'm I'm all right with it. I'm kind of been taking extra care, kind of shielding anyway. So I'm back in the take extra care and try and leave your house as little as possible, but we're not going to tell you to shield category, which is a bit, I don't know. I can understand why they don't introduce shielding because if you are in that vulnerable category, you probably are already taking those precautions. I think that's right in the sense that you don't need to introduce shielding because people who are vulnerable will take care of themselves. If you tell them like you need to take care of yourself, they don't need to be enforced that strongly as shielding was. So obviously they're still able to do things that maybe shielding wouldn't have allowed them to do. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to it. It's going to be a bit quiet again. Really, it's just not going to be much around. I'm sure we'll have plenty online and virtual things to keep us occupied as we found in March, but I don't know. It's just a bit. I guess it's something I'm used to because obviously we've been shielding anyway quite a lot. So it's kind of the new normal, and it's kind of really settled in after all these months that this is your life now. But yeah, I'm not really sure. Definitely a lot of people affected by it worse than me. So obviously, furlough. Um, I wonder if you're one of these people that have been let go because obviously furlough season was coming to an end. People would have been planning for redundancies, and then obviously furloughs extended, and you could have stayed on. And have you been invited back? Are you still being made redundant? What's if you're in that kind of that really I don't know if anyone watching this would be, but how would you kind of feel about being in limbo, effectively? So yeah, how are you finding lockdown two? Are you worried going into it? Anxiety? I mean, I'm not really anxious. I mean, I think I've got this heightened state of anxiety, like kind of as a baseline, because of what everything else is going on in the world, and it's kind of just your anxiety instead of resting here is now here, but not up here. So it's still manageable. It's just a bit more difficult. But yeah, how are you finding lockdown 2? Are you looking forward to it? I don't know if you would be, but I mean, how worried are you going into it? Something I'd really like to know. Do let me know. Um, and yeah, it's a difficult one, but we've um got a lot of Zoom things. I guess if you kind of you bounce off people more with them, it kind of makes it a bit more difficult. So a couple of my friends, it's just easier to speak to face than just texting all the time, and I just kind of I bounce off people more, and I kind of speak to people better when I'm with them physically than I do like over text. But I mean, are you enjoying it? I mean, you might be living by yourself and stuck without seeing anyone outside your household or one other person. outside your household for your exercise, which you can do as many times as you like in a day, I think. There's not like the one form of exercise per day rule. It's you can only take exercise with your household or one other person from another household. But yeah, it's a bit, it's kind of going backwards, and we're kind of in this state now between, we're stuck between staying alert and staying at home, and it's not really going anywhere. I think that's the really kind of frustrating more than anything thing for me, is that we're just in this place now, and we're not going anywhere. We're just kind of all sitting around and waiting for a vaccine, and it's just a bit restrictive, which obviously is for good reason, but that still kind of affects me, because I like to. It's not. I don't know how to word it. It's one of those things, but it's very it just feels a bit uncomfortable. It's not really a situation I feel comfortable in, and normally I leave the situation, which obviously we can't do because it's global. So there's not really anywhere to go to actually leave the situation. So the usual coping mechanism doesn't work. So it's just kind of learning to live with it and learning to kind of adapt and put up with it. And obviously that's true for everyone, but I think when you've got mental health problems, it makes it more challenging to do that. Because you're so used to routine and you're so used to normal, effectively, that this is yeah, it's just all the changes all the time. It's quite challenging, especially with my autism as well. It definitely makes it quite challenging having lots of changes all the time and not really knowing where I am. Which is, I kind of try and do grounding stuff, like just focusing on the present moment. And yes, it works to an extent. I kind of, just put some music on and just kind of think about, this is what I'm doing now, this is what I need to do right now, this is what I need to do this in this hour, this is what I need to do today. I try and, micromanage myself to try and cope, because that way I'm limiting my vision to just focusing what is in the immediate future. But it's not a brilliant situation to be in. But yeah, I'm sure you're finding it tough as well. So do let me know. Do sharing that with me. I'd like to know I'm not alone on this one. I'm looking at chat right now and it's a bit empty. So yeah, do let me know if that's if you're also feeling a bit hard right now. Right. Looking at, I actually, because I don't normally write a script, this is unscripted, but I did kind of write a list of bullet points because we have so much to talk about today. So I actually had to write some bullet points down to see exactly what we were going to be, so to remember it all, really. And yeah, I had student life on there. I mean, obviously, I would be at uni right now if I had stayed in school, which I didn't. But if I had done, I would have been at uni right now. Would I have found that any easier? Probably not. I mean, I'd be kind of shut in a room I was paying for, and just kind of stuck there looking at my laptop all day, which is kind of what I do now, really. So it's not really much different from kind of uni, although I would obviously be learning instead of working, but it's kind of, there wouldn't really be much difference, because it's basically the same situation. But obviously that's hard for a lot of people who are used to socialising, especially like open sixth form, where it's that you just talk to everyone, and then and then you're kind of just thrown into a room with like a couple of other mates, and that's your household, and that's it. And there's nowhere to go, and you just have to sit there and do nothing. I can see why it's kind of banging your head against a wall kind of time, but I don't recommend that. Do try and stick with it. Hang in there, I guess. Keep it a day at a time. What are you going to be doing for your days? This is the kind of question that was asked during the first lockdown. Everyone was like, oh, I'm going to, learn knitting or Arabic, or I'm going to read all these books, or I'm going to write all these books. And then we never really got round to it, lost in the day to day. So are you actually going to do anything? Are you going to make any plans for this lockdown? Um, how are you going to be spending the month? It's a month minimum. It could be longer, or it could go back to the tiered system. No one really knows. There was kind of both sides of that coming out today. So what's going to happen after? Is that worrying you? Do you feel like we're going to be in this longer than a month? I think Christmas might be. I don't know. Maybe it will go on. I think they'll extend it, but just before Christmas. So extend it past the 2nd of December, but stop it before Christmas, and then maybe restart it in the new year. But yeah, it's just a bit uncertain. I think that word comes up a lot, and if you actually watch the previous replays, although there's no point doing that because obviously this is live, but it's just uncertain, and that's the word that just keeps coming up, is just how uncertain everything is. So it's really just awkward, really, for me, because I like certainty and I operate on very fixed autism kind of boundaries. But yeah, it's all a bit uncertain, and that's kind of quite a regurgitated word, but it's just one of the biggest feelings I have at the moment. So, any lockdown plans? Do let me know. Do tweet me as well. I should have probably said this at the beginning. It is in the description. My Twitter is at Jake S. Writes, or the website is jakesymons.com. Specific page is jakesymons.com/Mental Monday, and this repeat will actually be up there. And then obviously the schedule stream for the one in 2 weeks as well. So all of that's going to be on the website. We've got our own page now. I'm just going to put it in chat, but it's got its own official page. It just highlighted my name because it took the Jake Symons out of the URL and pinged me. I didn't realise it'd do that. Oh well. Does the gym? Another question. A lot of questions for you. I want to get some feedback on this, because I don't actually, as you probably can tell, I don't go to the gym. But is that a coping strategy for you? Do you go boxing, or go to the gym, or go swimming, or do something that's kind of just getting your blood pumping and actually just helping you cope with what's going on? Is that something that is that something that's going to kind of lower your mental health? Is that something that's going to make you feel a bit like you don't know what to do with yourself? How are you feeling about it all, really? I'm trying to get some perspective in, because I feel like I talk a lot from this kind of very bland perspective, which is, lockdown's alright because I've been chilled in anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And obviously there's a lot more to it than that, and there's a lot more different people in different situations to that. So I'm trying to, so I know it's more kind of questioning than usual, but the reason for that is because I actually want to get your opinion and see kind of how it is for you. There's a lot of the media that have started picking up the mental health stuff. I just had a quick look. I normally look at the news just before, see if anything there's worth talking about. And there's a lot of people reporting that the toll on mental health, and the increase in mental health issues, the increase in self-harm, suicide, and alcoholism, reads the Daily Mail. There's a lot of that, and then there's also the how to manage mental health during lockdown. I haven't actually read any of those. I will have a read and see kind of how it's how it is, and whether the tips are just written by just journalists that just write stuff, or if they've actually consulted proper people, so actually trained people, or those that have actually got lived experience, or are they just, this is what works for me, so this will work for every mental health, kind of everyone with a mental health, which is obviously everyone, could make their mental health better with this. Just gonna have some water. I'm gonna just kind of take a kind of half time, because kind of jumbling up a lot of my words, and that's probably because I've tried to go into this with a kind of half script. So I'm looking at my script and then trying to make it fit. I'm either every word has to be scripted, or there's just a couple of bullet points. But I've kind of, when you're trying to make everything fit, it's a bit, I'm just not used to kind of a script. So maybe I should script these more. That's kind of a point about what we're doing, kind of the show, is this has always been unscripted. But do you think I should script it more? Do you think that'll help it get more structure? I don't really get a lot of feedback, so I really just have to ask people. And when you ask people, most people say, "Oh, you're all right. It was quite decent," stuff like that. People just say that just because they're not going to tell you you're really bad. They're not going to be like, "Oh, that was terrible, mate. Don't do that one of those again." I mean, it's good if you have honest people that do that, but my people I know don't do that. So, what is your honest feedback on this? I feel like without a script, it feels a bit more kind of fluid, because we can just kind of jump around the place, but also that kind of makes it a bit more scattered as well. But then obviously if we do have a script, it kind of, I don't know, I just don't like being tied to a script, but we'll see. I might try the kind of bullet points for each kind of, I guess, show. We could do that. Definitely something to do. I'm still trying to find my feet with this. Definitely. I know it's been going like over a year now, and then obviously there was a pause, and then we kind of brought it back in May. But it's just trying to work out what's best for you and me, because the idea of this is it helps me because I get to have this open conversation about mental health, mainly to myself, and you can actually come in and be part of that if you want to as well. So it's kind of designed for me to help myself, just nattering on about mental health, but obviously you can be part of that, and I'll try and make that accessible so you can be. But yeah. There is a feedback form on the Mental Monday page in the chat if you do want to, if you've got any ideas for any topics as well. I've decided to open up kind of topic ideas suggestion, because I feel like, especially going into another lockdown, obviously things aren't going to be changing that much from how they are today, from, freedom to kind of not being locked up. So there's kind of a big change to talk about, but when it kind of gets very repetitive, there's kind of that lack of structure there. So if you do have any topic ideas to actually help kind of, ground every show in kind of something, that would be really good to hear from you. So, moving on, we are nearly coming to the end of our time today. We're about nearly 24 minutes in. So, just wanted to leave on a bit of positivity. I am trying to kind of leave on positivity. It's not really working, especially when there's a lot of uncertainty and that dreaded word again, and kind of all this in the world, everything up in the air. It's a bit difficult, but how are you going to be spending the next 4 weeks? What are you going to be doing that's actually fun? I mean, for me, it's mainly going to be spent getting this website online, because I've got all of this website to basically build myself and make, which is going to be fun. And this is for Waterdown Media, so that's my job this week. And then I might actually, start reading. stuff. I don't know. I normally read the news, which is probably the worst thing you can read during this. There's like this live blog on the Guardian, which I look at, or there's Sky News, which are probably the worst places to go at the moment when it's all very depressing over and over again. So do try it. That's my tip to you. One of the few I can give you about coping during this time, and that is stay away from the news at all costs. Obviously, yes, you can look at it. Don't take that to the extreme, but just when it's getting too much, stop. To nick the slogan off the gambling adverts, when the fun stops, stop. So yeah, when the news stops being like informative anymore and it's just getting a bit depressing, stop. But yeah. Wow. I think that we are coming to an end of our time. I was just giving a moment there to see if anyone wanted to say anything in chat, and no one does. So I think that is the end of our time together today. It's been great being here with you. I've really enjoyed today. Lots to talk about. I feel like we've spoken about a lot, but the conversation hasn't really gone anywhere. Probably because there's nowhere for it to go. Like lockdown's happening on Thursday, and that's it. But there's not really anything that's come out of it, which is a shame. But I guess this is going into a time where not much is going to be happening anyway, with everything shut down and a lot of kind of depression out there, depression scenes, I should say. So definitely will be around on Twitter and via my website, jakesymons.com. If you do want to reach out to me, you can do so on all my social medias, which are linked in, some of them are linked in the description, all of them are listed on my website. So you'll be able to get see what I'm up to on there. And I will leave it here. It's been great to speak with you. It's been great to kind of have this conversation. And I will see you in 2 weeks' time, which, looking at my calendar, is the 16th. Is it the 16th? Is it the 16th? I can't really see my calendar. It's on the other side of my room. It is the 16th. Okay, I will see you on the 16th for the next episode of Mental Monday, where we'll kind of be in the middle of lockdown. So I guess it will be a review of the last 2 weeks and a look towards the 2 weeks to come. So it's a really good position. So if you do want to come along to that, that will be at 7 as usual, UK time. Always at 7 UK time, doesn't change with the clocks. And yeah, I'm going to leave it here. Thank you so much for coming along. Like I say, do reach out on my social media if you do want to get hold of me. But other than that, I've been Jake Symons. This is the big friendly conversation about mental health. And thank you for coming along and watching Mental Monday today. Good luck for the rest of the week, especially on Thursday when things are going to change quite dramatically. I hope everyone stays safe, everyone's okay, all the usual stuff. But yeah, look forward to seeing you next time.